Welcome to Little Victories, the self-help comedy podcast that proves success isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Hosted by fast-talking firecracker Richie DeFrisco and the ever-sly Pat the Cat Murray with the Pat Facts. This is Little Victories.
Welcome back to Little Victories podcast. I am your host, Richie D. Sitting next to me is my partner, Patrick the Cat Murray.
Patrick the Catrick.
Patrick the Catrick. I have an amazing guest as always. These guys are legends, to say the least. If you're from the Bronx, you should know who these men are. Absolutely, hands down. Their work is, there's no words for. So I'll let you guys see for yourself. And if you don't know, you better ask somebody. But ladies and gentlemen, the one and only TATS CRU.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
This is the only episode I'm nervous about. You guys make me nervous.
Richie does not get nervous.
Now you, don't get nervous.
You should get nervous climbing fences into people's backyards.
That should make me nervous. You guys are legends. I want to give a shout out to Bruce the barber. Bruce has been cutting my hair since I'm 13.
Nice.
I went to him last week and I said, Bruce, you never believe who I got on the podcast. He said, who? I said, keep guessing. He said, I don't know. Who is it? I said, TATS CRU. But immediately, without any thinking, he said, oh, you got legends. I said, yes, I do. Your work is, you reach the level that the vast majority of people don't make it. And there's a million things we could talk about. But if I could talk about the beginning, the very beginning, how old, how did it start?
Business-wise or
No.
just painting-wise, career-wise?
Just getting involved in what we do.
I want to say, I've always been interested in like letters and art, but the awareness of graffiti probably around 13, 14 years old, I was, it's always New York. It's always around you. And I remember coming off a subway train and the doors closed and there's like this huge cartoon character on the side of the train. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, what is that? I go back. I grew up in Bronx River Projects. So I go back and I start asking everybody, I saw some stuff on the train. And they were like, oh, that's graffiti. And I'm like, graffiti? I was like, they're like, yeah, you got to get a name. You got to get up. So from that point till today, it's just been an obsession with me, It just, that from that moment on became, I need to know more. I need to learn more. So I went on a mission to find guys who knew more or, just were into it. And that became my whole life.
It was the same thing with you?
Yeah, well, you have to keep in mind that we got into graffiti before the internet was invented, before there were magazines, before there was movies, so we grew up in kind of like an era where the invention of hip hop, or not the invention, but like the birth and the growth, like the very beginning of it started. So everyone in your neighborhood either was a break dancer, or a graffiti artist, or a DJ, or an MC. Why? Because we had so much.
I think they like to be called girl or boy.
B-boys,
B-girls. Yeah.
Listen, that's political correct now.
No.
Okay, I got you. But the thing is, back then, we had so much energy, but New York City was bankrupt at the time. So we're talking in the 70s, just before the 80s. So there were no art programs for kids. There were no places for kids to go besides a local PAL. There weren't even a lot of sports programming for kids to get them off the streets. So we had
there was a PAL on your block with like a broken down pool table.
Yeah, I know. The pool table was so bad that the balls were, from being thrown around, they would throw them
They were
around.
cubes.
They were cubes. They were like messy little chunks. So like whenever you hit the ball, it would go bloop, bloop, bloop. It was the funniest thing in the world. But because we didn't have and the energy that we had, we all gravitated towards something that, we wanted to be involved in. And me, I was always a little kid that would draw, like copy comics and copy like trace, stuff that I would see from the newspaper that would come with like the daily comics at the beginning, like the Daily News would have comic strips at the front. So, I grew up always interested in art. So when I got a little older, I also found out about graffiti. And I was into comics, and like Bio, I saw a train once, and when the doors closed, I saw big letters and a character. And I said, oh my God, that's a big comic book cover. Because every comic book cover has the same, elements. It's a big name, which is the superhero name, whether it's Superman or whoever, and then there was always an image of it, like the character. So I was like, wow, I want to draw that big comic too. But then I went to junior high school, and then we actually met
In high school.
in a major art class of all places. So I was a freshman. Bio you was a sophomore, right? You was in
I don't remember.
10th, 11th. BG was the super senior.
BG was a
I'm like,
senior.
Oh, so BG
Right.
was, I thought, born and raised in Puerto Rico.
No.
No.
BG, he's here
he's
in
as,
New York.
He's as hood as you're going to get. Like, he's
No,
real New
BG 's
York.
from New York. But yeah, BG was a senior.
A
He was on
senior.
his way out as we were going in. Yeah.
And then that's where we met. And then the crew was formed from there. We actually started off as a graffiti crew called TAT. Teenagers Are Tough. You know, it was always an acronym. You always added, you know, everybody had Top Artistic Thunder, and like everybody had something, right? Because it was an acronym. So that's how the crew originally started. And we would get together after school, or we would leave school, because remember, we came from nothing. Like, our families didn't have money. Nobody helped us. So how we got the paint to go paint these trains in the evening was we would go out racking. We called it racking. So we would steal our spray paint and markers and stuff like that.
The statute of limitations is up on that, right?
No, it's okay. I got a good lawyer.
So
I'm
where
not-
were we stealing from? Pearl Paint, Home Depot.
No, Home Depot.
Those spots, but there wasn't even Home
was
Depot back then.
around?
You had
I
Martin
don't- I don't think
Paints.
Home Depot was around.
You had Martin
It was
Paints.
Martin Paints, Janovic, something that had like the Red Devil paints.
Yeah, or local mom and pop hardware stores.
Oh, we would
like-
also try, like, by then, New York City, by the time we started going to steel paint, it was a little hard in New York because not long after they started caging the spray paint.
'Cause we were
in
the
New
third
York.
generation
So then we
of
started
graffiti.
traveling outside, like getting on the PATH train to go out to Jersey to go get paint, or, you know, somewhere else where these small mom and pop shops that didn't have the cages by then, you know?
and the security. Yeah, so keep in mind, like, the origins of graffiti is like they say from the '60s, whatever. But we're the third generation in, right? So our generation got there, and we were getting a little bit more advanced than the guys that started before us, even though we learned from them. But we had to fend for ourselves.
Yeah, because the way when he says third, you got the pioneers who started, obviously, the tags, the simple tags with the dot. Then somebody added dots. Somebody added dots in a cloud. Then that next wave came like the guys like, you know, Crash Days, Scene, Lee, Dondi, these guys. So we grew up watching these guys who had already advanced it. So obviously
With
we're not picking
designs
up
and
from
stuff.
back then. We're starting from this point. So we took it from that point forward.
And just added on to
You
it.
take all the inspiration and you make it your own.
Exactly.
You know, you borrow things and then you evolve into the level that you're at. You're very branded. There's no way I don't have to see TATS CRU logo on any wall. The second I drive by it, I can identify your work, right away. And then to me, as an artist, I think regardless of what genre you're in my own mind, I became fixated on this idea that the second someone can tell that it's my photograph without my name on it, that's when I reached my level.
Yeah, Richie, if I can add, I know that for you, right, this is definitely your genre, your medium. But someone like me, I was very upfront when I met you guys, sheltered.
In a bubble.
I can definitely appreciate and the process of how you got to where you are, to where now it's literally your identity. When I just met you guys before we started, right, Bio and Nicer. And so you are TATS CRU, but for those people who are listening that might not be aware, I'm not going to know real names, right? You know me as Pat the Cat Murray, you know him as Rich DeFrisco, but you will know them as Bio and Nicer. And I think that's just how it has to be.
You know what's interesting about that point that you just made? Because I say it all the time. I even tell my wife about this. So what we do for a living, if you look at what we do, so whether it's painting for a large company or out in the street or hanging off a scaffold off the side of a building, whatever it is that we're painting, you only see the back of our heads. So we're not in an area and space where we have notoriety of how we look like. Like, people can't spot us. I was in the supermarket once and I had a TATS CRU hoodie on, and I'm on the checkout line and some guy comes over. He goes, "Hey, you know those guys?" I was like, nah. He was like, I love their work. And then I was like, me too. He said, where you got that? I said, online. He said, wow, I'm gonna look for it. Nice to meet you. And then he walks back to his line, my wife. So we go back outside and we're getting in the car, we're loading up the trunk, and my wife goes, you're such an asshole. Why you didn't tell him he was with TATS CRU? I was like, because it's too much time. I want to get out the supermarket. Like,
they don't know what we look like.
Basically. They don't know what we look like. And we're not out there for that type of notoriety, but it is nice when you do hear that somebody saw what you did and they appreciate it, because we put a lot of love in what we do. Because if you don't love what you do, then you're wasting your time.
Home run. And the thing, so there's a couple things here. And one being, and this is to the audience, and I tell people at work this too, or wherever I meet them, if you're from the Bronx, from a specific, anything 35 and over, I don't care, and you don't know who these guys are, move out of the Bronx. You don't even deserve to be there. Just go. Leave. You hit a key point that means a lot to me. And to me, it's the underlining line for every single thing that we choose to do when you said obsession. I pull, Ian Cinco knew that I was going after that. I always try to pull that out of people. It could be from the David Goggins mentoring that I do all day long. But to me, to really succeed at something and reach that highest level, you have to be obsessed. Yeah. I know a lot of talented people, but they never even come close to making it where you guys made it. You guys have been all over the world. You at a stage now, you made a living off this. Going to lower middle class in the Bronx, it's not my mother. I seen this, they were scared to death. If you came home and told them, "Ma, Dad, I want to be an artist," they wouldn't talk to you because they were scared to death of, you got to get a job, you got to do this, because they were so fearful, and it didn't come from a bad place. They were scared. Yeah. What point did you realize, wait a minute, I can make this my living?
Well, I mean, for us, it's a long journey, and it definitely wasn't easy. It was something that kind of came about where we were, we had no regular jobs, I guess I'm going to say at the time, early on. Nicer was doing airbrushing. BG had a regular job. I was working at a school.
By then, we graduated from high school. So now we became young adults. So reality smacks you in the back of the head. And that's when you go,
the toothpaste doesn't magically appear in your cabinet.
Yeah, I got to pay rent. No, I got to do this stuff. So now but as friends and as a crew, we always are in contact with each other, around each other somehow or another. But like Bob said, I was doing my own thing. I was airbrushing. He was I was working at a printing company. Then from there, I went to the nonprofit. But we all had normal jobs, but we were still painting on the side. On the weekends.
And what happened was, after a while, it became where we started doing like these small jobs, our first job, little mom and pop stores. But it got to the point where we were getting out of work, going to do these jobs late into the night, and then be tired to go the next day to work. And then we were like, at some point, something has to give. Either we stop painting or we give up the secure 9 to 5. And I think that was one of the craziest leaps at that moment. Just like, I'm going to leave, paycheck, a guaranteed paycheck to go into the unknown. And three of us, I think, Nice was already doing it. He had already jumped out.
But my mother thought I was crazy. She thought I was on drugs. She was like, you going to leave a regular job to go paint? I'm like, I'm going to try.
And I joined Nice, and then BG was the last one to make the jump. And, at that point, it was like, all right, here we are. Three of us are jobless, There's no guarantee with this art thing, so we just started doing smaller jobs. And in the beginning, it really wasn't easy because it wasn't something that was known. I mean, what are you, a sign company? What are you, art? Nobody really was doing this to the level that we could follow.
Probably countless people. When you told them I'm a graffiti artist, like
you're wasting your time.
They don't want to go to work.
Yeah, they're like, you're wasting your time. And then even early on, we would have our doubts. Like when birthdays came around, holidays, Christmas, we were like, man, we're broke. Shit is rough. Did we make the right choice?
One time we was in Grand Concourse, and
I was going to get to that.
We was messed up. Our pockets was messed up.
We were doing bad. And we just happened to land, and it to the point where. No, this is how the story goes. We're painting one day. We're so broke. We see a guy with cans, with a bag of clear cans. And we're like,
it was a
man,
call.
How much money? No. That was afterwards. Oh, that's why that story relates. So we see the guy, and we're like, I wonder how much money he has in those cans, like in those aluminum. So boom, fast
I'm like,
forward. Now
you grab the cans.
We land the contract, I think, to do like Coca-Cola walls or something.
We was doing Seagram's.
Seagram's wall. So
the crooked
we're on
eyes. Wow.
so things are starting to look up. And as we're painting, there's a car that drives by in the Grand Concourse loaded with bags of cans, and all the cans fall and just spread
It's
out.
like God gave us all these. You want the cans? Here goes some
And it was
cans.
just
How the
cans
Grand
spread out
Concourse?
all over the floor.
That was God.
No, but the funny thing was that
We didn't
prior
need
to
it at that point, though.
Yeah,
Well,
because before that, we were like, but that day or days, a few days prior, we got a check, like a big deposit check, and we were like, like we could like swipe
Breathe
a little
right
bit
now.
of the
So you
sweat
didn't
off
have to
our
run and
brow.
grab all the
grab the
cans.
cans.
Yeah, but
Right.
we were like, the fact
We
that
were
it
like-
fell in front
we
of
were
us,
like,
we
the
were
cans fell, we were like-
divine.
Right, that's a message.
We were like,
that?
look at all the cans we were looking at the other day.
like, nah,
we
it's
don't need them
okay.
now, but yeah.
Well, this is another big thing about it too. So it's like I'm an actor. I am, and that's when I introduce myself. I introduce myself as the actor. I do a lot of things, but that is the one thing that I that's what I do. But I'm gonna be honest. I don't know the business of acting. I don't.
learn
I use but see exactly the same thing here now with you guys. Yeah, you guys are talented artists. But there's a lot of people like that in the street. But you guys, at some point, learned the business side of things.
We were the first graffiti company that kind of incorporated. There was guys that were successful before us
Individually,
but
yeah.
they were in a company. So now we were we were put in a position where now these ad agencies were coming at us to do what was called back then guerrilla
Marketing.
where we had walls that we were painting anyway for ourselves to do our own names on them. But now these companies wanted us to rent them some wall space so that we can put their products up. So we figured instead of using their walls, because they also wanted to provide us locations, we're like, no, if you're going to pay to beautify a neighborhood or add some color, because you got to look at it this way. A lot of these neighborhoods that we were painting in had no color on the walls. Like these kids came from working class families that their mothers, if they had a father, but their families weren't taking them to like the MoMA or galleries. They didn't know what a Monet was. They didn't know what a Picasso looked like. They didn't know. So in a sense, putting these colors on these walls in these neighborhoods that we weren't from, but we were from New York, we were actually becoming the colors in their life, like adding color and artwork to their surroundings. So we kind of became the Monets and the Picassos and the Goyas. And we looked at it that way at the beginning. But then it got to be a little
It became
overwhelming.
business. What we learned early on was we didn't know anything about business. Let's just start off there. We didn't know how to price anything. We didn't know anything about copyright, licensing, nothing.
Who
So
owns what?
early on, we did a couple of deals with these companies. Obviously, they know their business. They've been in business a long time, and we would get a certain amount of money and think it's a great deal, until we realize, oh, well, this wasn't such a great deal. Like they're doing nationwide advertising. They're doing this XYZ. We just gave away all our rights
gave
to
away the
everything.
farm.
Yeah, we gave away the farm. So throughout the years, those are the hard knocks and lessons we learned, how to retain ownership of our artwork, how to deal with certain situations. All right, this is what we're doing here. Okay, we're going to license you the artwork for 3 months. These are the limitations of what you can and can't do. Anything outside of the agreement, all of that was stuff we didn't know.
Because we like he said, like Bob made a good point, because at the beginning, you have to keep in mind, so if you go somewhere to buy something, your money is yours, and you want to keep as much of it in your pocket as possible. So your right is to try to negotiate to get the best deal for what you want to purchase. So that's why I don't blame these companies.
No company's going to tell you
Nobody's
deserve
gonna say
more.
this is what you should be making. But it's like Prodigy from Mobb Deep once said to me. He goes, "You're only gonna get in life what you ask for."
Closed mouth don't get fed.
And he said, "No is the word no is never gonna kill you. It's just no means no, and you got to go somewhere else where they eventually gonna say yes." He said that, and I was like, "Oh wow!" Like, because we was always afraid to give out a number.
We didn't know. I mean,
'Cause
we
we
had
didn't
no idea.
know,
Like
yeah.
we would do jobs and be broke at the end of a job, and it was just like we were bad at calculating, cost versus time. And it was throughout the years that we learned all this, you know, and we were like, and then we got to the point where we felt more confident. All right, this is what it costs. And then obviously you're always going to negotiate, and we learned all the little nuances of like, they go, don't worry, you're going to get a lot of attention from this. And we're like, great, that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Actually pay us.
Do this one for this price. And then the next one will give you what you want.
Right,
Get
so
out of here with
now
that.
we were
I don't
like,
need
all right,
that.
give
Why
us
don't
our
you give
price
us
now,
price
and we'll
now?
give you a break on the next one.
Yeah, so we went from that kind of like formula, doing it in New York City, where we were doing these ads, kind of like these print ads, and we were renting out the spaces for a month, then charging the ad agencies for a rental fee, which we made a profit off the rental fees, and also billing them for the actual production of the mural, plus charging them
To create the artwork.
to create. Yeah, so we learned the formula, but then we were being asked to do other cities, like Chicago. They wanted all the major markets, so they wanted Chicago, Atlanta, Miami. They wanted LA. They wanted Seattle. So we lived for about 3-4 years with a suitcase by the door, and we figured out, like, we have a network of graffiti heads all over the United States. Why don't we tap into this network? And instead of flying back and forth into these cities, why don't we just, under our corporate umbrella, hire these guys? You're putting money in their hands.
They're local.
They're local. They're gonna oversee the artwork, because one of the stipulations in the contract is, you know, we'll keep the wall graffiti free or you know, from being destroyed or written on, and for the duration of the contract. So. You know how we learned that? Because we would have to go back and forth to DC to fix a wall once. And I was like, that's when we figured that part out. But we started doing that not globally, but national, and it worked for us. It was like, now we sat in our office, which now, by then we had an office. And then, because before that we were working out of a Ford Bronco, like the one that,
Ford Bronco, yeah.
the one,
and
the
a
one,
beeper.
Yeah, and a beeper. That's all we had.
The
A
beepers.
beeper and the Bronco. That was it. We would sign the walls with a beeper number and a Bronco. This was before we started the corporation, before we started. But it was funny because the same Bronco, like the one that OJ was chased in. So we would drive around to places. They'd be like, uh-oh.
Double check, see who's driving.
Here they come. Yeah, here they come. It was funny.
Well, that to me, that's insanely impressive. Like, to go from, and that's also the hardest part about being an artist, is you speak about it coming from such a passion. Like, the way that you got into physical art and graffiti is because you saw it and it inspired you. And I do believe it's all right to go after these companies and tax them for the work that they want from us, because like you said, obviously Coca-Cola, billions of dollars, they can afford to pay you.
We're the consumers. Why not make them pay?
And I don't mind looking at an ad if it's something that real artists create, you know? And
Well, that was another, sorry to interrupt.
No.
One of the reasons that we also dove into that market was we were watching a lot of these companies create these ads, graffiti-inspired ads, but they weren't using graffiti artists. They were using like graphic artists who knew nothing about the culture. So you would see these ads and you could immediately tell, all right, this is not real graffiti. This is fake. This is somebody's idea of what graffiti should look like. So, you know, in the beginning, you know, we complained, but then we were like, no, we need to
do something
involved and start creating, you know, this link for us.
Well, you know what's funny? I'm gonna tell you, damn, I'm old. You know, it just hit me. You know, we had, when we first started the company, we were like, how do we get our names out there? We had a yellow page. We were the yellow pages there. You remember the yellow page?
Yeah, we
tried everything.
I mean, we tried all ways to promote. We at one point, BG, I think it was BG, came out with the idea, why don't we do a calendar, like a poster? This way people have it up all year round.
Yeah, if you go to somebody's office, you see a calendar up.
So we created a poster where we would do how many murals we did that year, and just the bottom half would be a calendar, but the top half would be all artwork. So we did that for many years. After a while, we just did it. In the beginning, we didn't have money to do it, so we started reaching out to the companies that we were working with if they could, donate $100, whatever, $200. So we'd have all these companies' logos. But after a while, we were able to just finance it ourselves, and we just kept doing it out of tradition. Then I think about 2013, we just kind of got tired and stopped.
Nobody wanted to go to the printer to proofread it. Nobody wanted. Everybody got bougie.
But we did that for
No,
many
no,
years, and it
it's a
became
lot of work.
thing.
It's
yeah.
a lot of work.
So that business aspect of it intrigues me because now when you say you had the Yellow Pages ad, would they just search for TATS CRU or were they looking for like?
We don't even know why we
we
took it
were-
out. We just figured we need to be in
No,
the
we
Yellow
were-
Pages.
Yeah.
Like access,
We- Yeah, because we weren't in the A section. We were on the TATS. So, but I think later on they were being categorized where I think it would
Like
tell you
arts
certain
or
pages that
whatever.
we were on the arts.
That's
I think
yeah.
that's how they found us.
I remember they taught me how to read the
Yeah, there
phone
was like
book
a
when I was a
column,
kid.
like
Yeah.
the- yeah,
If you want a
in the
plumber,
back.
you don't just go to
Yeah.
Roto Rooter. You look for the.
But back then, at the beginning, it was just like a random on the TATS CRU.
Yeah, then once the internet came around, I think it became a lot easier for people to find us and contact us. Because people ask us, now, how do people find you? And we're like, we have no idea. We don't know.
No,
At this
it's-
point, they just email or
It's
reach
the
out
internet.
somehow.
Because if you can
Instagram.
remember, what was that first kind of like corporate contract? That first kind of like well-paid mural.
Before Coca-Cola, one of the bigger jobs at the time, we had been doing a lot of small jobs, and ABC Carpet
Oh, yes.
was ABC,
Carpet at
was
home,
based in the Bronx. They
On
had
Bronx River Avenue.
They had,
Yeah.
Right, they had a showroom
But
there.
their
But
main...
the flagship store was in
was-
19 or something.
Yeah.
But they reached out to us, and we met with the owner in charge at the time, and he was explaining what he wanted, and we had no idea that ABC Company was like a $500 million a year company. We just thought
Right,
they
right,
sold
right.
carpets
Carpets.
until we walked inside and sold rugs were like $25,000 for a rug.
That's the
Or-
lowest priced one.
You know
No,
what I
yeah,
mean?
they sell three-legged chairs.
For like $1,000. So we were like, okay, this is a different, something outside of what we've been doing.
Venue, yeah.
And at that point, it was probably one of the highest paid jobs we had did.
At the
right?
beginning,
we
yeah,
had
at
did
the
for that
beginning.
time.
Oh, you know what's
And-
funny? We went to go meet with him. His name was David Chapman.
No, Paul
Paul
Chapman.
Chapman. I'm sorry about that. And Paul. So we go in through the door. We go to the. We ask for him, and then so he comes out of his office, and from far away he goes, "Hey, you the graffiti guys?
You look like
you
the-
look like the graffiti guys." And we was covered in paint.
Paul,
We like,
Paul was a character.
no, he was a fucking real
No,
character.
he turned out to be actually a really nice guy. He was,
Yeah.
he's rough, New
But
York.
we learned,
Yeah,
we
old
learned a
school.
lot from him. Like
Yeah.
people like that really took a liking to us and had, like they saw in us like our hunger, and
Yeah,
he was the
believed
first
in
one
our
to help
early on, yeah.
helped us incorporate and gave us direction. We had help from actually when I told you that we met in a major art class in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Our major art teacher,
Ellie Dworkin, yeah.
Ellie Dworkin, which is still to this day in contact with us, and we're friends with her and her family and stuff. Her husband worked for Con Edison,
Yes.
and when we first started this company, the first company we started, he gave us a donation through Con Edison for
Like-
$1,000, right?
Where's
Something like that.
1500?
Where's your donation from
You
Kanye?
didn't get no. I'm waiting for
spent-
his
so
check.
spend the money.
I'm
So,
waiting for his check.
So I did Con Ed 8 years, and I went up to management. And I thought I was doing everything I was supposed to that I was taught, and it was hard for me because I didn't want to die there. I just didn't want to die there, and I felt like if my life is worth anything, I got to be able to take risks. They might be uncomfortable. I'm gonna go through some hardships, but I can't sit there and dream about things if I'm not gonna meet the universe halfway.
Yeah.
You know, I believe in that manifestation. The universe wants to give you abundance, but it can only do so much if you're not willing to walk towards it. And it's a lot of, you guys have done the risk. And you guys have definitely been arrested when you were kids because they caught you, the Vandal Squad, or they knew your tag. You've definitely been through the hardships of it, like not the hardships, but you've definitely been locked up or at some times.
Yeah.
For something, a miscellaneous tag. You weren't
That's
doing
part-
these big
that's-
murals
that's part of
from
it.
the
No,
beginning.
No, that's part of it. I mean, for many years, like even when we first started out, here's the funny thing. Early on when we were doing the work, we would be out there late at night and cops would come around and we had permission and they would still be like, I'm gonna go around the block. When I come back around, you guys better not be here. And we're like, we have permission. He's like, I don't care. So it's 2 a.m. We're like, all right, we need to pack it
let's
up. We'll
pack
come
it
back
up,
tomorrow.
because it's a
And this is
losing fight.
These are the things we dealt with early on, and we even had our offices raided, where they've come in with search warrants.
They take in hard drives.
They went to every property that we painted, and they were finding out whether we had permission or not, which we did. And the reason how we found out was one of the property owners called us. He's like, "Yo, the cops were here asking me whether you guys were painting
this
here
with
legally
permission,
or whatever. And I said, what'd you tell me? He said, I told him, get the fuck out. But then what happened, how they were able to come into our office, at that time, we were getting a lot of visitors from overseas.
'Cause we were traveling a lot, yeah.
So a lot of guys would come to our office and go out, whether either paint trains or do whatever. They're here in New York. They do what they do. They got arrested. I guess these guys went to do some walls on Amtrak or something. They got arrested. But during their visit, we gave them business cards and posters and stuff like that. So they had that stuff on them. So they were like, they went and got a warrant based on, they're saying that in our office, there's more information that'll help lead to, I guess, convicting these guys, whatever. So they came, they raided, and then how we found that out, the cops, they're talking in the office about, what do you guys, you guys, the problem is you guys have a lot of people coming here and you're giving them information. And I'm like, first of all, what are you talking about? These guys are doing, so you're telling me somebody comes here, leaves here, kills somebody, that's not my problem.
Right, because
I
they
have
talk
nothing
to
to
you.
do with that. I mean, I don't know what they do when they leave here. So, it was a whole thing.
Because around that time, we was traveling a lot. So, these are 3 guys that came from the South Bronx. And then, like, when we started doing that commercial work, we also were being invited to do stuff overseas, all at the same time. So we were in England for like a month. Then, remember, I'm from the South Bronx. I'm from Longwood Avenue. Like, what the hell I'm doing over there in, like, Britain and Birmingham and I'm in places where I'm like, I can't even pronounce this. But so it would be that, Germany, France. And so it started traveling. But because we were doing a lot of stuff overseas, guys that were into graffiti in Europe were coming to New York because that's their big dream, to come to the birthplace of this art form. So when they would come, we have an office. We're not the hardest guys to find. Like, but didn't I tell you I had a yellow page ad? So now we have the internet. You could Google us, get the address. So these guys would make it to the office. And that one particular time, we had nothing to do. We didn't even know these guys like that. And like Bob said, gave them a business card, a poster, and then they targeted us. But that wasn't the first and last time. It happened to us with the Pun Wall. Remember?
Yes. We got arrested after.
For the pun wall?
Yeah, the first one we did, we got arrested. Because it took us, 3 days? We had started, it was cold.
No, the day he passed, we started.
And then we finished, we all went different directions. Nicer, they grabbed right by the wall.
I had a bag of laundry in my back seat of my car. Like, I was like 4 blocks over. I did a turn. I was like, let me drop off the laundry. And I see this car, this van behind me. So they take me out the car. As soon as they tell you, step out the car, sir, there's no more talking after that.
No.
Because that means, like, don't show me your license. So he goes, as soon as they tell you, can you step out the car, sir? I said, uh-oh. What the hell happened?
I don't fight with them.
I didn't say nothing. So I get out the car. So I said, what about my car and my laundry? The other cop goes, I'll drive it to the precinct. I said, okay, can you drop off the laundry? And that was the last words I said to him. And I got in the back of the van. And then, so now we go back to the wall, and Bio hasn't left yet. So then it was and Nazem.
I jumped in the car with Nazem.
Right.
We drive off. We're on Intervale. We get by Longwood Avenue. This was quite a distance. Make the turn. They hit the lights. Those detectives. They pull us over. I'm like, oh, what the fuck did we do? Pull us over. Comes up to the window on both sides. Just plain clothes cops. And then they're like, what were you guys doing that you weren't supposed to be doing today? And I'm like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. I said, all we were doing was painting. He goes, exactly. You want to step out the vehicle and put your hands on the
top of the car.
Top of the car. So we get out the car. Nazem is fucking
angry,
flipping. He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but he's from Germany. You gotta stay quiet.
We're in the back seat.
We're from New York.
Now we're in the back seat of we're both handcuffed in the back seat of a car going to the precinct, and Nazem is like,
flipping
why didn't you fucking do it in front of the wall? Because they would have flipped this bullshit car over.
While we was doing the Pun Wall,
there was a lot of
Angie Martinez on her show was announcing that we were there painting. So we had, I would say, 2,000 people there.
Oh yeah,
like
you guys got events.
Yeah, that shit was crazy. So like all these rappers, it was like everyone was there, right? Flavor Flav shows up, he's crying in front of the wall. It's like it's bananas out there. We just want to paint and go home. So now we follow by. I'm in a van following that car. We get to the back of the precinct. They're letting us out the cars, and they let me out the van. I'm handcuffed. This fucking guy has the nerve to look at me. He goes, "Oh shit, what you doing here?" I'm
Because we met in the park. We were all getting brought in
In
at the same
different places.
time.
I'm
Me
like,
and Nas in my handcuffs.
he
Then we
goes,
see Nice in
He
handcuffs.
goes,
They're
"Yo,
like,
what you doing here?" I said,
Yeah.
"What do you think I'm doing here?
You're a crew.
Whatever you doing is what I'm doing here."
The only one that didn't get caught was BG because they
BG.
lost him in the crowd. Because once we finished the war, BG
took his
took
hoodie
off his
off.
hoodie and changed his jacket, so they lost him.
But wait, what year was this?
This was 2000 when
first,
Tom died.
yeah.
I think.
Oh, this city is a crock of shit.
This is
So
the
they stole
first.
my car 3 times in 2 years.
It wasn't me.
They're worried about the wrong things. You know, they're worried about painting a wall to like bring life to a neighborhood,
So
right? But we don't do anything about anything else. So that's like
Nah,
frustrating.
so we're sitting at the precinct and they're like, the property owners pressing charges, and we're like,
That's
that's
impossible.
bullshit
We know
because
the
we've been
property
painting this wall for years. They're not, the property owner's not pressing charges.
So-
They called the. Here's what they did. They had called the woman who owned the property, and they said, we caught some guys painting your wall. Clearly, she doesn't know what's going on.
No,
They didn't
vandalizing.
tell them.
He used the word
They didn't tell them they're vandalizing it. They didn't tell the owner who it was. They just said, we caught some guys vandalizing your property. So she's like, oh, but then once she found out, she's like, no, like it was
So he goes-
so they had to let us go.
So we get to 161st Street, which is like the
Central
a
booking.
like a central book, like a prison, like a holding, to see the judge. So we're there, and we're inside of a cell with like 20 people,
Everybody
something like that.
was locked up.
So and then one of the guards walks by and says, "Yo, I just saw you guys on TV for doing the pun war." It looks like, and one of the prisoners there goes, "Yo, you guys painted the pun wall? You the graffiti guys?" We're like, well, I'm always the graffiti guy. We're the graffiti guys. That's my other middle name. And then, so I go, yeah. He was like, yo, that's effed up. Like, why they got you in? Yo, CO. Now they start doing.
Now they start
So
getting
they get
loud.
upset with the guards. So now the guards decide to get us out of the main cell and put us in these little cells.
Little separate cells by
away
ourselves.
from the other prisoners. And then at the same time, the Bronx Borough president
At the time, I
had
think it was
called.
Ruben Diaz at the time, right?
Was
Was
it
it?
Diaz
I
or
think it
was
was
it
Diaz.
Calderon? No, Ruben Diaz.
I think it was Ruben Diaz. At
And
the
then
time. I'm not
Jimmy's from Jimmy's Bronx Cafe.
Joe.
Everybody, all these like politicians and artists like Fat Joe and everybody started calling to get us released. And then I don't know how the hell they pulled this off. They get us out of a cell like 2 or 3 in the morning. No, it was
the
like
next day. It was
6
the next
in the
day.
morning,
It
right?
was the next day.
So-
we stay overnight because I remember we had to sleep because he was in a cell, but you couldn't see. It was like these little cubicles.
It's like where they interview like your lawyer talks to you through this like gate, and it's like a chair and this little bench. That was it. That's how you guys sleep.
So I heard Nice in the next cell.
Mad, because the
then-
cockroaches.
Yeah, it was full. I mean, these cells were full of cockroaches. Like you're laying down, you see like roaches like crawling on you. So we stayed there the whole night. The next day, the cops who arrested us come. They
Open
open
the
the gate
doors.
and they go, "Listen, guys, we were only doing our jobs. If you could not mention our name, whatever, blah blah blah."
So they take us.
They walk us.
No, now we're going down some staircase that looked at crazy random, like in the back. Like you don't even know it's like a back of every like a warehouse or something. Like you know that kind of staircase. We're going down some stairs while he's going like, yo, listen, I had nothing to do with it. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you asshole, you put handcuffs on me.
But
Like,
like,
how
the
you
thing
wasn't doing it?
The thing is, like, how douchey do you gotta be
No,
to make those arrests?
Because
Like that's
the calls came in and they started to go, they're effed up.
That-
So now they're letting us. All of a sudden, the door opens. So
when-
there's the front of the front of the
courthouse, and then we're in the
courthouse,
side.
and then there's like a back door in the back where the employees
So
go.
he opens the door and he goes, "You're free to go." So we look outside.
I thought it was a
and we're like,
setup.
Is this
I was
another
like-
setup?
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not running.
I'm
Like I'm
like,
gonna
hold
stand
up.
right
He's
here.
it's like the
Like-
last scene in Goodfellas.
Like,
when-
we didn't even
So-
we didn't even
No,
go
he-
see the judge. They took us straight to
He was
out the
inside
side door
there.
and let us out through the side door in the back.
I don't gotta tell you, it's nothing you just don't know. They don't get those phone calls. And when you guys went in there, they're like, "Wait a minute, who's calling?"
Yeah.
So they don't get those phone calls.
No, but going back to the business side, like that's things that we go through because no matter what we do, as far as business and our worldly travels and things we give back to the community and stuff like that, we always paint in our communities because we're from our community. Like I have an office in Hunts Point. We could have made an office on 34th Street. We could
I
have
don't know
had
about
an office.
34th Street.
All right, all right, all right. All right, maybe 116 or something. Anyway, so what I'm saying is we chose to stay where we're from because it makes more sense to us. That way the community sees, like, we're not fake guys. Like, I'm just like you.
And that's the crux of the argument. And you use the two words very distinctly, vandalism versus painting.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So what was it like, I mean, especially with the story we just heard, to go from at one time, especially when you started in the late 70s, early 80s, when it was very pretty much considered like an arrestable offense, it was vandalism, to when now, no, we're painters, we're artists, we're being paid to do these things. Like, how did that kind of shift?
That was a slow transition. That was just like doing this throughout the years and getting involved, doing more stuff for like local schools, different neighborhood community centers.
Hospitals.
There was more awareness of who we were, and like,
But
a lot of the cops, now we're getting older, the cops are younger than us, so they grew up watching, the work and seeing it.
I hate that when I'm standing on a ladder and somebody behind me goes, "Hey, I've been watching you since I was a little kid," and you turn your head and the guy's all
A
full
grown
of gray
man with a
hair.
family.
Like, he's like super old looking. You're like, God damn, I'm old. He was
We're
wrong
getting
with
old
me.
fast. But it's, it's funny. So I'm not there yet with like you guys are. Our producer here, he does it too. He runs. Now he developed a screening series because he's a filmmaker. He developed a screening series in the Andrew Friedman home, bringing all different film collectives from Brooklyn everywhere to showcase screening series a couple times each month called the Bronx Frame out of the Andrew Friedman home, which is a significant place, and people don't know about that place either.
Yeah.
But he is relentless about not, the Bronx is very important to him, especially South Bronx and all other areas. We're Bronx guys. Me, I've given up after they stole my car the third time, and I'm like, I don't care. Get me out of here. But you guys do a lot for the community. And like any shot that this borough has of making it and continuing to progress, you guys have done so much work. Bronx River Museum. You do a lot of work with kids. The Children's Museum, if I'm not mistaken.
The hip hop museum that's gonna open at some
Well,
point.
we've done a lot. I mean, we're based out of a community center called The Point. And we used to do classes for many years at The Point where we had kids coming from all over the city, and we would do like workshops with them. And we did that for a few years, but we had to kind of stop because of the scheduling. It was kind of like we would be away and we'd have to come back
We'd
just
be like
to do
in
the class.
Atlanta, and then we'll get a phone call like, "Hey, this kid came from
The
Queens."
class. And so it was
waiting,
unfair to
you
have
know?
them traveling so far, and we weren't going to be able to
But
make
we brought also through our connections and people that we knew, through that sense of, we were like, when we first met them, they told us they were going to bring arts and culture to that neighborhood. So we were like, they have their own culture and their own arts. Like, what are you bringing? You're not bringing tap dancing and ballet over here because,
But they did bring ballet.
but for a little bit. But the thing was, they have a culture. Why don't you just reinforce their culture? So we reached out to friends like Crazy Legs and, famous DJs and rappers to come and do sessions and free classes with these kids, because why not reinforce what they grew up around, things that they're familiar with? Because it's a universal language, but what was missing from that community was an acceptance of the local kids. Like, the kids, they didn't know that everybody else around the world was rapping.
Yeah, our relationship with The Point was one of mutual benefit because we were starting out, they were starting out early. So we met them by chance. They reached out to us. There was 4 directors who started The Point, and they were like, they invited us in. They're like, "Oh, we wanted you guys to paint a mural," and we're looking around. It's an abandoned building.
Yeah.
There's a shit there. There's nothing there, and we're like, and they're
There were no
explaining, like, it's
walls
nice
up,
to mention, they're explaining their dream of what they're going to bring art, and we're looking around, and all we're seeing is like a stripped down building, and we're like, okay.
All they
We're
had was
like, call us. We're like, in
They
our
had a
mind, we're like, call us when
they
you're
had
ready.
a fold-out chair with a fax machine on it. That was it.
So then,
So we were like,
as
yeah,
chance
right.
would have it, we had a big backdrop we had to do for a concert.
For KRS.
And then I don't know if it was KRS.
Yeah, it was
I don't remember.
KRS. It
So
was the
we didn't have
for the Paramount.
a place to paint it because it was going to rain that weekend. So we needed an indoor place with some shelter to cover us from the rain. So we were like, what about those people we met at that point? Their space, is we can paint in there. I don't think they would mind. So we asked them. We were like, hey, can we paint this backdrop here? We normally would have tied it to a fence in a park and painted it there. And they were like, yeah. So they allowed us to paint there. And then, kind of got cool with them. And they were like, I mentioned we started out with beepers. So they had a phone and a fax machine. So they were like, listen, if you guys ever need to use the phone or the fax machine, feel free. So now moving forward throughout our days, we would stop there once a day to either send a fax or receive a fax or make a phone call. So they allowed us to kind of use their space.
Because we bartered the space.
And as they grew,
the
we
painting.
were growing business-wise, starting to make money. So then they had, like, the property was divided into separate sections. So that fixed up the main section. There was still an outer section, which is now has ICP. ICP fixed up half the building. So the other half was still abandoned.
Vacant.
So the point was like, if you guys, pay to have it done up, you guys can use that as your office. So we paid to have the, built the office.
We have
and
a second floor.
We've been there now almost 30 years.
Yeah.
30 years you put in there.
Yeah.
They try to throw me out, but I'm not leaving. Nah, I'm not kidding. I'm only kidding.
Well, I say that to people all the time. I'm
No,
not
but
leaving.
but what with that relationship, as our connection grew with different corporations and stuff, we were able to get funding
and
sometimes every once in a while
donations
donations to the point from companies that we
If
were
we were
working
doing
with.
stuff for, like, let's say Marc Echo or Coca-Cola or Nike or something, we always would let these corporations know that here's a community center. They could use the help. Why don't you give back to your consumers? These are your consumers. These kids eventually are going to buy your Nikes. They're going to buy your Reeboks. They're going to buy. So why not, instead of just targeting them through an ad, why not give something back? They could use book bags.
Put
They
your
could
money where
use
your
some
mouth
fun
is.
ones. Yeah.
Well, why don't you help the community? So, like, one of my biggest beefs with the borough is we're left behind. I don't know if they credit, and I could be wrong. It's not my wheelhouse necessarily, but if I'm not mistaken, on Kingsbridge Avenue, you had Cool Herc. Right, so Cool Herc was supposed to be throwing house parties, the beginning of hip-hop. When you talk about breakdancing, everybody broke, but you put a piece of cardboard that was a significant piece of cardboard, that's where you broke dance. Beep is everything. And it's you find a way to chase your dream in art or whatever you do, even coming from hardship, that there is no money. You come from the Bronx, you don't have it like that. And it's important to always give back similar to the way that you guys do, because it's unfortunate too, and especially you deal with a lot of young people that are growing up now, and they don't see these options, so they don't really know. But there's other options that you have besides just, oh, well, if I join this gang. There's a lot of gangs now, more so now than I feel like back then. I mean, I'm not old, but I'm not young, so I've been around long enough, but I feel like there's more gangs now than there used to be. And when you try to talk to some of these kids, they're irrelevant about all these other resources that we have that are not being used. They are being used, but yet people come from different areas showing up to these spaces, and they're not the Bronx people.
No.
It's a different day and age.
I mean, we're happy in the sense where the classes we taught, a lot of the kids, it's funny because a lot of the kids that came through our class went on to become like video directors, photographers and stuff like that. Turned around, one of our students, he passed away though, but he became like a video film director.
Yeah,
Remember
he did
that? He was doing a Beyonce video, and they hired us to do like a Beyonce video. And this was one of our students who came through our class.
He did a lot. He was a little kid. He
Came
used to
into his
come, and
own.
we used to teach him how to do lettering and fill them in and stuff like our class. And then once you start seeing these kids get a little, but we live also in a day and age now where, because of the social media and they have access to all this negativity. I grew up different. You probably grew up the same way that we did, because when you stood playing in front of a building, your tenement building, and an elderly woman who lived in the building had bags, you stopped playing and you helped her to her door. Or you stopped and let her pass. You have respect. These kids will make these older folks walk around them. So, but it is our responsibility to stop every now and then and talk to them. They don't want to be preached to. They don't want to be preached to. That's a fight within itself. But just a simple conversation like, yo, what if it's your mother? And if they hit you back with something negative, like, I don't get, yeah, you should, because you're not around to help her. It's just little words. You don't got to beat them in the head with it, but not enough people. Everybody wants to mind their business. And I didn't grow up that way. And
No.
we seen the change, and it's like, it really is up to us to like talk to the youth.
I don't know if you remember the beeper thing. We're gonna keep. Is it? You had no choice. There was no smartphone. You go to like Thanksgiving. Everybody's gonna be Thanksgiving soon. I know you're looking forward to it. I'm
Oh yeah, it's
picking
my
on you.
favorite holiday.
I know that you're looking forward to it.
I'm
You know, all of these kids are gonna be with their parents that are not gonna be around forever, and they're gonna spend their entire Thanksgiving on their
their
cell
phone. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I used to say that all the
I
time.
mean,
like,
look at you can
see
look
these
at
kids,
people in the
all you see
street
is the
walking,
top of
just
their head.
crossing the street, looking at the phone.
But you know, it's a neither here nor there. There's nothing you can do about it,
No.
but try to change someone's. You're not gonna change them all, but all you can do is just put some kind of knowledge out there.
And that sense of community too.
Yeah.
We had a few episodes ago Evan Bishop, who's the director of Yonkers Arts.
Did we do something?
Yeah, we did the.
You guys
a
did
gallery
some
show
work.
there.
You guys did something in there because
A
I seen your
stage. We
work
did a
in
stage,
Yoho.
a backdrop stage. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the stage backdrop. Yes.
So yeah, and his whole thing when you're speaking about the point, his whole approach to running Yonkers Arts is that fostering community and working towards providing a medium for some of these kids. For me, it was music, and one of the things you had said about your identity, I believe Richie also said it as well, is like when you can kind of notice the art for the artist without without someone
Yeah.
clearly writing like this is my
Yeah.
piece. For me, it's the same with like imaging and music. Like you hear a Led Zeppelin song and you're like,
know.
that's Led Zeppelin,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
For you and for me, and I got to be honest, when I look at graffiti, because I notice it, I just I use all my senses. I feel dyslexic. I feel dyslexic sometimes because I'm trying to make out, kind of what they're trying to write or what they're trying to say. And one of the things, because I try to do my homework for you guys. I watched the documentary. When was that?
It's in front of your
It's
face.
in front of your face.
Jesus Christ.
No, I know. I can't tell when it was made. Early 2000s.
Yeah.
That you're also the mural kings, and I always appreciated. I could read it. I could understand it. There's a lot of these tags out there that I'm like, what are they trying to do?
I mean, there's different levels to this. Obviously, you got beginners, intermediate, and then you have the advanced. We learned early on, like, try to make this relatable to everyone, because it's a community. You're sharing space with other people, so we had to be aware of the community. So we try to make all our murals non-political, non-religious. Something that everyone can enjoy. You don't have to be, an artist to appreciate nice colors and
Yeah.
Yeah, I think back in the days in the 70s, like Mayor Koch was so like adamant about getting graffiti off the subways. It's because if you think about the power of these guys going out at night, and you can't stop them, and they have a message to put out there. It doesn't matter what political party you're from, no matter how many people you go out and send out to staple posters onto wood poles, but the power of these guys putting something on a train that would travel from the Bronx through Manhattan into Brooklyn, and it's a message. So the same thing goes. We paint with guys from around the world. We don't even understand the language that we're painting alongside of, but it's this thing that's a visual image that's so powerful that we can all relate to. Because if you could tell a story in like some characters, and it doesn't matter where you're from in this planet, that story could be read because it's a visual image and it's very powerful. And that power scares a lot of people.
I think it goes back to everything circles around. It goes back to you are now that person, right? When you saw the character as a kid, you are now those guys.
Yeah.
And then you are inspiring other people to say, I want to stay in my art class. I want to give it everything I got. And you've touched people that you've met, and then you've touched people that you haven't met yet, or that are all over.
No, wait. I just want to be clear about that. I didn't touch nobody.
I
just wanna be-
thing
just
is, you
clear.
don't being in it. You don't realize that. You don't realize that until you hear it or somebody says it to you. Because we're not sitting
Out
here
there-
thinking, "Oh, we did this X, Y, Z."
do
We're
that,
just
yeah.
day to day. All right, we're gonna paint this one. We're gonna paint murals, and we forget about them. And we don't live there.
Yeah.
We're in another city.
Legitimately, I showed you guys that album, and some of the pictures are missing in there. And some of these walls you even forgot about. That's how many walls you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot, and it's funny because, like as Nicer said, we've been able to travel and go into other countries and meeting people and people knowing your work and saying, coming up to you, I've been following you since I was a kid, and I'm like, where are we?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
But that's art as the great communicator.
Yeah, I remember visiting a school, little kids in Colombia, and one of the kids knew the artwork, and my wife was actually with me on that trip, and she goes, "This little kid wants to meet you," and I'm like, "What could he possibly know?"
He's in Colombia.
He's in Colombia. He's in like elementary school, and she's
They
like,
have
"No, he wants to
internet.
meet you. He knows your work," and I was like, "Whoa." That's when you
It's-
get those moments of realization.
I think that's the. I try not to look at anything that's completely negative. Just use it for the positive and try not to waste any time. And there are benefits to social media. You're working now is you're able to put it on that platform, so more people can see it. It's
You know, we're pretty fortunate. We are fortunate, and I appreciate everything that we've gone through, and we're still not done. I'm gonna paint till, let's say,
Don't say you're old and gray because you're old and gray.
All right. So since if I
Older
end
and
up in a
grayer.
Older and
wheelchair,
grayer.
if I end up in a wheelchair, I'm gonna still paint, but the walls are gonna look smaller.
Well,
That's
there's
all.
gotta
It's
be
gonna
ADA
shorter,
compliance.
shorter
They're
walls.
gonna-
It should be shorter walls.
Yeah.
No, but
Access
the thing
to
is,
the wall.
you go to places like we were in Poland once, right? And I remember the promoter told us, "Don't cross that bridge. There's angry skinheads over there." And me and the twins and Bob, we were like, "Oh, we gotta go over that bridge.
We got to cross that bridge.
We gotta go." So we get over there, and as we was crossing, it was like 12 of them, and maybe like 5, 6 of us. And I remember I had a bottle in my hand. I had some tissues in my pocket. I kept stuffing. You know, as we're getting closer to them, I'm like, I didn't know what the hell to expect. I'm in Poland. They look like the traditional movie version of a skinhead. I was like, and when we passed by them, they gave us the nod, the head nod, like, "What's up?" like that. And then they walked past us, and the guy in the front, obviously the leader, turned around and said, "Hey, you the guys from New York?" And we were like, "Yeah." He was like, "Good job. Good job." They was all like, "Hey, yeah, good, good, good." And then they kept
you
walking.
imagine?
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like,
I
what the
remember
hell
that.
just happened? I was about to
Yeah.
beat somebody down with a
It
bottle.
wasn't what they described to us.
Yeah,
you did the
because-
Bronx default. You
Yeah,
sharpened your
you
weapons
always
before.
Talk. You always talk. You always talk. Don't
You're
stay
ready for
quiet.
anything.
And
Yeah,
don't
no.
run first. You gotta talk.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's
You good?
what so. Before we close, I think it's important to talk about the all the things you're working on now. You guys are constantly working on things.
Yeah.
I seen the bill thing that we spoke about, where you're turning dollar bills into
Art.
artwork, and they'll be dispensed in Miami, if I'm not mistaken, through
Yes,
ATM machines.
At the Museum of Graffiti, yes.
the Museum of Graffiti.
Right. So we partnered up with
Truist and the museum.
Truist is the bank. So they're giving us
They're the
the
sponsors
ATM
of-
machine, and between them and the Museum of Graffiti, they're having these. So we did limited artwork on some bill shapes. So they'll be dispensed through the machine, but the idea was to give them out for free because, again, not everybody could afford an actual painting for their home. So we got approached to be part of this project, and what better way to give a piece of artwork out than to give it out for free? You know what I mean? And it's through an ATM, so it's like it was
It's
a cool idea.
concept. Yeah, it was a cool concept. I mean, that's one of the we just finished a big mural in Bronx River Projects with a friend of ours, another
community
artist.
center, yeah.
It was a collaboration with a friend of ours, Mark Lawrence. And I grew up in Bronx River Projects, so for me that was kind of like a homecoming. Like, I've moved out years ago, but to come back home and to be able to create this huge mural in a neighborhood that I grew up was kind of, not
So
only-
you put Bronx River Projects on the map.
Well,
Like-
the Bronx River Project was on the map. I mean, you had hip hop, you had Zulu Nation, you had all that going on. I just carried the art torch for it, And I grew up there, and that's where I'm home. And we were just recently there a week ago. We just finished a big mural there, and we got a few projects lined up coming up. We got a big one coming up in Brooklyn, and other things that we work on. But
They just came
it's-
back. Yeah, I mean,
And
we have a bunch of things going.
TATS CRU Incorporated, TATS CRU, the company, still
yeah.
going strong.
Yeah, we're still
Yeah.
going. We're still doing it. Again, we got myself, Nicer BG. We have a lot of other artists that work with us. We have assistants that now work with us. Obviously, the amount of work is hard for us to keep up with everything. So we need people to help out to make stuff happen before we get there.
Can't do anything alone. And
Age.
when did you guys meet again? You guys were teenagers, 15
high
years
school.
old.
In 1980 in high school.
45 years.
No, not, it was, about 1982, 3, yeah.
So there's another thing I'm really big on because I think that in my mind, you can't do anything alone.
No.
And that the people that you meet that come into your life, when you meet these special people, I'm not talking about you.
No,
I thought you
not
were.
Pat. No,
Not
no,
you,
no,
not you.
Not you.
No, we
But
met other
cry.
people.
It's so important to your success. I kind of lived a double life, and I spent a lot of time with the wrong people, but then I realized after the fact, many years, I was the wrong person. And when I kind of made these jumps in life, and I said, you know what, I know where I belong artistically, and this is where I have to put my energy. God kind of put these amazing people into my life. And
Well, it's like that old saying that you used to hear these older guys telling you, who you surround yourself with is what you're going to become. So you surround yourself with a bunch of guys that are doing wild shit, guess what? You're getting locked up too. So you got to surround yourself with like-minded people, people who see the vision, as clearly as you do. And these are the people that are going to help you climb. You may struggle, work together toward a common goal. But yeah, in numbers, you can get a lot more accomplished.
you can get a lot more accomplished.
Yeah.
We even with this podcast, we're trying to build more team members. We just put a social media manager on board. We're very lucky to have Winnie. But it takes time. It took 8 months to find someone to be
The right fit.
The right fit, and 8 months it took to
Well,
find
for-
that person.
For us, I mean, it's you got to keep in mind we've been together since we were teenagers, and now that I didn't want to say I'm old, but I'm old, but we've been around each other ever since. We've been through marriages, kids. We've think about all the years, but it's like a brotherhood for us because if you have siblings, you're gonna argue with your brother.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you still got his back, and you love each other. So the same thing happens
Are
with
you
us.
trying to tell everybody
That
you
I
love
don't
me?
like you. I never liked you. I keep telling you that shit. I don't like you. No, well, the thing is, you're gonna go through ups and downs, but it's how hard you hold on to, and believe that, you know what, I can hate you today. Don't talk to me, but I still got you.
I mean,
You
I
know, it's
think
like a family.
as a group, you guys got to be each other's support system. When you're not feeling up to it, the task, he may be like, "Come on, we got this." Give you that little push you need just to get to the top of the hill.
Well, this is 13 episodes in. So far, Pat has done a good job on one episode, so I'm really happy with that.
1 out of 12.
1 out of 12
What's
is
that
bad. Hey,
statistic?
you got one under the belt.
You're doing great. So what's the next thing that we're expecting from you guys? The very next project you're working on?
The next project is we just
flying down
finalized
to
in
Miami.
Miami, and then once the weather gets warm, we got a huge mural out in Brooklyn for this arts hub. We have there's another company we do, we have several big murals planned. It just now the weather's getting cold, so we're just holding off till it gets warm now.
And I love the process because I'm a construction guy, and I love the process. And oddly enough, as crazy as it sounds, like I worked for DC 9, District Council 9, in the painting union.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's funny, and I'm assuming this with you guys too, is like you guys have an intimate relationship with the wall itself. Because
With the wall and
with
the,
the
weather.
wall, right? and the weather, because I take the wall, and I work for one of the biggest painting companies, period, in the city. It was very impressive what they could do, the amount of paint they could drop off in a day. And my relationship with the walls, I would just feel the wall and make sure it was the right surface. Yeah. And it shows like you guys don't just come there with spray paint. You got to scrape the wall. It's got to be a certain
gotta be
surface.
prepped.
It's a process.
So-
I mean,
Last,
there's a lot of behind the scenes.
A lot
stuff
of
that
behind
you
the
don't see
scenes.
before you actually see a finished product.
No, but we also paint year round. So when it's super cold, we're out there.
Oh, yeah.
I have the world's biggest collection of lawn johns, I think, out of everyone. But when it's hot, it's like that 100 and something degree weather,
Where it feels like it's
and where you feel like you're in a microwave and your ribs are burning on the inside. You're still out there and you have to work.
That's just physically. So now, like, painting industry, once it reaches certain levels, I can't store those pallets of paint in the basement no
The
more.
oils, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, you
So
got oils.
how does it change the actual paint between
It's terrible.
hot and then winter?
Well, when it's hot, the cans have too much pressure. When it's cold, the paint doesn't dry fast enough, so it starts to run. So what would take you 10, 15 minutes now takes you 30, 40 minutes.
That's here in New
so
York. That's here in New York. But like when we were in Denver, the
Oh, the
altitude
altitude.
was so high. Like even in Mexico, remember? We was in
Mexico City.
So when you would spray, the pressure gets so much in the can that just a little tap on the nozzle, it goes poof, like way too much. So you have to take these things and like these variables into like mind when you're planning something.
That was my biggest question for you as we sat down, because I tried to just spray paint my address on my garbage can and it ran like crazy. And I'm just like, I'm seeing all the things you do, and I could only imagine all the technical and physical application, stuff like
Well,
that.
you got to understand also there's different caps that reduce the pressure or lessen it. The pressure. It depends what you're trying to accomplish. You have caps for filling the background. You have caps for the fine detail. Most spray paint that you buy in the store just comes with like a standard cap. That's not going to work for you.
Thank you. I know now.
You got a long way to go.
Long way to go.
But you can get there.
You can get there.
You can get there.
You can get a second episode under your belt.
He's gonna call the cops on you for spray painting your cans.
Yeah. If I found out that you were spray paint, I would have called the cops right away. Immediately, just to be an asshole. I can't thank you guys enough for being here. It is an honor. I was nervous when you guys got here.
The honor was ours.
You guys, so you've inspired my life, and I'm not the only one. The
I think
work that
everyone
you do.
watching.
And there's a lot of choices we can make in our lives. I'm glad I chose the art route, the creative route.
Yeah.
It puts me in a position to sit down in a studio and speak with you guys.
Well, we're happy to be here, and we wish you guys all the success, man. Just keep at it. You guys have a great setup here, and
Thank you.
good
Yeah,
things
you
are
guys
coming.
look like good things are about to pop off. Just don't spray my garbage cans.
No, you got it.
I'm
Listen,
gonna go home and
I'll
look
leave
at
it to
my
the
I'm
professionals.
gonna look at the garage. I'm gonna be like, where's
No,
my
because if you
cans?
fuck up that garbage
Yeah,
can,
that's I'll be upset. I'll write on your building.
They're not cheap.
thank you so much.
Thank you,
And to the audience, TATS CRU, TATS CRU. These are not regular guys. Like I said before,
They're the Mural Kings.
If I was you and you're into this kind of stuff, start off by watching their documentary. If I'm not mistaken, it's on YouTube now.
Yeah, you can Google us.
They're the Mural Kings. Any big body of work on a wall that you see predominantly in the Bronx and all over the world for them. But if you're in the Bronx and you see these walls, you'll see the TATS CRU logo. A lot of work in Hunts Point and all over the borough, but they're a powerhouse. Check them out. And that's it for today's episode. Anything else?
All right.
We're good.
Come on, Pat. You
All
got
right, Pat.
something? Breakfast?
You got nothing else?
Oh, we talked about breakfast.
Jesus.
before we started,
And
so-
Thanksgiving's coming up.
Yeah, I know,
So
right?
you
We
got
got to
it.
do an episode.
All right, guys. It's a
Thank you.
pleasure.
All right, man.
Thank you very much.
All right. Cool.
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more wins and more laughs. Follow us at Little Victories Pod on Instagram so you don't miss a thing.